Yeah, people are joining. No? Have we got the live link?
Hello, and welcome to today's knowledge sharing session. For the next 60 minutes of masterclass, P. Sajid, the Managing Director of Impel Services, Bindwel's Telda Group, and Suresh Nair, the Technical Director of Impel Services, will share insights into the latest trends shaping the bookbinding industry, including automation, customer connectivity, and personalization, and also deep dive into ways to navigate the run-length dilemma. Before we embark, a quick trivia question for the delegates who are attending this session. Question: have you read of the Diamond Sutra? Well, some of you will ask, what is the Diamond Sutra? Flashback to 868 AD. A block printer created a 17.5-foot long scroll of 600 words of sacred Buddhist text. That's 1,100 years ago. This is 500 years prior to the Gutenberg Bible. So why am I mentioning this to you? Two reasons. One, the Diamond Sutra is a combination of paper plus print. Two, the guests for today's webinar, P. Sajid and Suresh Nair, are two bookbinding specialists. So please imagine what would have happened to the Diamond Sutra if P. Sajid's company, Bindwel, existed in 868 AD. Bindwel would have perfectly bound the print and paper into a book. Once again, a warm welcome to P. Sajid and Suresh Nair of Bindwel. I've always felt the humble book once invented was an invention like the wheel, the needle, the shoelace could not be altered. Bindwel now and well-bound earlier altered my view. With that, I hand over to P. Sajid, who will help us in understanding the growing demand for on-demand and customized printing, which has been fueled by digital transformation and e-commerce, is reshaping the printing landscape, and how short runs and micro runs are becoming increasingly vital for publishers and printers alike. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sriram. I'll share my screen and then start off. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Pallipuram Sajid. Most of you may know me because if you are in the book trade, we would have seen each other many times in the past. I would like to call this as a co-learning session or a co-learning seminar rather than calling it as a master class, because to master this journey of short-run digital book printing, we are miles away from this. Book printing or book publishing has undergone a huge metamorphosis in the last decade. India being one of the largest consumers of books, this wonderful tool that imparts knowledge as well as entertainment, it is important for us stakeholders to understand the way it's evolving. Every one of us knows about digital printing, print on demand, and I'm not going to dwell much on the types of hardware, digital printing machines, and things like that we will discuss today. We will discuss the market opportunities, the trends that are happening, and something to do with what are the do's and don'ts of bookbinding when it comes to digital short-run printing. For any business, let it be new or old, to grow, we need to understand our market well. We need to align ourselves with the market needs. We need to understand what our customers' needs are, how the customer would move ahead or should move ahead. But unfortunately, as book printers, many of us just try to do the jobs that come to us without asking many questions. We do a good job about it. But it's important to understand the trends. Why is that kind of a job is given? What has changed in the past? The day we become, advisors and consultants to our customers, that's going to be a win-win situation for us. What we are about to discuss here, which is short-run digital book printing, or the changing landscape, the way books are delivered. It's nothing specific to books. Now, if you look at other industries like fashion, where apparels used to be made in millions and thousands and hundred thousands, now there's a lot of personalization happening there. Look at our own industry, where machine building, some of our known suppliers of packaging machines in the West, they do not even store any parts with them. Based on the customer demand, a component is 3D printed and sent to them. Look at the music industry, where multi-million CDs were cut every year for any popular songs. Now that has gone to playlists. So whatever we are looking at books is something very similar to that. Personalization, reduction of inventories and things like that. So we will delve more about it as we go. What is the need to talk about short run or micro runs? I'll start with this slide. There are multiple trends that we will discuss as we go ahead. Increasing demand for on-demand. So it was about it was around 2012 that I ran into Mr. Thomas Abraham, the managing director of Hachette India, at an airport. And then he said he's flying out to Bangalore to meet his largest customers, partners. Then he gave us a little bit about how the distribution model and the books have evolved, where they used to have multiple distributors, and now Amazon and Flipkart, the two leading e-commerce websites, they control roughly about 50% of their sales. And if you look at the data from US, about 70% of the total books distributed in the US are through the e-commerce sites. So if you just see the screen, I made an attempt to order James Allen's Be Your Own Sunshine book. You see after that 175 rupees, if you look down, it says it's in stock. And it says sold by Repro Books on Demand. So for all you know, the Repro Books, one of the leading books on demand printer in the world today, would have probably not even had one copy of this book with them. They would have printed this as the demand came in, as I placed the order, and would have delivered to me in the next couple of days. That is how the world is evolving. So biggest trend that we see, one of the biggest trends that we see, is the control of e-commerce in the way the book publishing happens. This slide is talking about growth of self-publishing. All of us know what is self-publishing. You and I can now become an author. We can write a book which we feel would appeal to the readers, to a large mass of people. It could be of something very special interest, or it could be very generic. It could be a story, short stories, poetry, or whatever it is. I can approach a self-publisher. You see some of them leading ones in India on the screen, like White Falcon and Portuguese and things like that. And many of them have done extremely well in India. So Nielsen's book data, which is authority in terms of doing surveys or estimations in books produced across the globe. In 2012, for US, they had said roughly about 10 to 15% of the trade publishing, which is basically fiction and non-fiction books. Roughly about 10 to 15% of that is through the self-publishing route. Now the latest one, roughly about in 2022, now that has gone up to 30 to 40%. This very clearly shows how the self-publishing industry has helped the book industry to grow, and as well as reading to grow. And in the case of India also, this is growing very fast. There are plenty of them. Some of them I have shared in my screen. If you are an author, you could start writing your book and then get it edited, printed, designed, printed, published, and delivered to different places with packages starting as low as 10,000 rupees to going up to 1 lakh or even more. There are some of the traditional publishers like Penguin Random House who have their own self-publishing in India. What is the biggest opportunity waiting for us in India as the self-publishing is concerned? I have my bets on regional language self-publishing, which is still at a very small level now. Look at all the regional printers, all of us speaking different languages coming from different parts of the state. Each of us have a very rich literature and a lot of books waiting to be published. And this model has still not really taken off. What you see as self-publishing in India is mostly in English. So you'll see that Notion Press, one of the biggest players in this, has already published about 30,000 books. And then Pothi, the numbers is close to 20,000. And Blue Rose, it's about 15,000. Let's look at the next trend. And this is the most fascinating of all of them, customization. 20 years back, I would have never imagined something like this is possible. This is absolute personalization. You would Wonderably is a very well-known customization book publisher. They have a book called as Lost My Name, and that's a book where you go to the website. It's a must visit in case anyone of you have not seen it. If you read books or whether you are into publishing industry or your printer, you must see this website. You can go and check this book called as Lost My Name, where a child is supposed to pass through a lot of tasks, identify what are each alphabets of her or his names, and then finally you get into a case where the name is coming out. So you get your name back. And this is personalized, this is customized for you. And there are multiple other kind of activities where you can take part, and then you do this design on their website, and the book gets printed and sent to you. And I think it's about $40 or something like that in the US. I'm sure they are in India also. And any idea, a book like this, which is very specialized, customized, what could be the number of, and definitely this is a book on demand model where when you are creating a book for yourself, it's only going to be sent to you. I mean, you're not going to share it with somebody else. It's a very personal kind of thing. And the best part of it is this particular title, Lost My Name by Wonderably. It has sold about 4 million copies so far worldwide. Each one is one book at a time. So this is one of the biggest trends that is going on, and there are plenty of these publishers. I have mentioned some of them, the Book for Everyone, and so on and so on. You could have a book made with your favorite Marvel superhero. Your child can, I mean, the way the kids can be introduced to books and book reading and this entertainment and all that kind of experience, that's completely changed around by this kind of possibility of personalization. I will go to the next market trend. Sriram, should we take any questions as they come, or we can just go on like this?
Yeah, I think we can go on like this, Sajid sir. We will take questions in the end so that it doesn't break your flow.
Yeah. So the fourth one is educational sector, which is the largest for us in India. Demand for customized learning material. In our college days, we used to what we call as Xerox or photocopy parts of our, let's say, engineering or other subjects books as we need for the exams. We just used to take a copy of the important ones and then take it to our hostels for reading just before the exams. Now the publisher themselves do it for you. I mean, you can go to a publisher online and then seek these are the kind of chapters. They prepare a book and give it to you. So this is personalization in the case of education. Now let's say imagine creating a workbook that will address the strengths and weaknesses of your child. Let's say it's a small child. She or he needs more attention in, let's say, alphabets, or let's say in mathematics. Creating a workbook especially for her. That's the personalization. That if you think that it's fantasy, then you're mistaken. It's already this is called as segmented or group personalization. For a type of people, a group of people, you can personalize your books. So that's what personalization can do for your education business. As you know, India is one of the largest publisher in the world, one of the largest, I mean, probably the largest publisher of English after US and UK. And if you look at consumption of books in India is also growing. And the educational infrastructure now we are talking about is roughly about 1.5 million schools and roughly about 265 million students enrolling. Now look at a scenario where at least in schools where we need to customize the textbooks. That itself is being looked at as a huge opportunity. So many of these numbers I have taken it from some of the surveys already done. So I've given that as a reference also. Let's look at some of these additional points. Sustainability, definitely sustainability from the aspect of short-run printing completely avoids wastage, either in the process of making the books, or it also ensures that there is no obsolescence, there's no overprinting, and it overall contributes to sustainability efforts. It's data-driven printing. We can integrate it with e-commerce. You see a lot of anti-piracy measures, either by way of personalizing them or by way of ensuring that there is always a book available in the market. Like, I mean, we talked about e-commerce some time back. Something which is very clear with them is that if you have a list of books, then none of them can be out of print. So even and at the same time, they would not allow you, or you yourself will not like to hold a huge inventory of these books. The only way to do that is by ensuring that you print as the demand comes in, whether it is short run or long run, and then supply to the end user. Corporate printing is like all of us need a lot of material, training manuals, branded merchandise. This is again going to be in the form of short-run printing. So there is a whole question one: how familiar are you with the differences between short runs, micro runs, and the one book model? All of us can take that. It says host cannot vote.
We'll give the poll another 10 seconds and we'll close it, sir. Yes. So the results are out. Would you want to share it with the audience?
Yeah, it's come on. That's good. A lot of us are familiar or somewhat familiar with that. Can I close this?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the next slide I have on defining the term short runs, micro runs, one book model. You can just have a look at it. I want to talk basically based on these lines only. We have talked about many trends. One is e-commerce, self-publishing, personalization in education, and so on and so forth, like corporate and things like that. All of them can be slotted into either short runs, which we call from 50 to 1,000 books. Nowadays, there are inkjet printing solutions which say more than 1,000 also, it can match the prices. But for the reason of keeping the terminology as short, so if you're getting into 2,000 books, then I would only say that inkjet printer is able to do long runs or medium runs. The runs, we will stick to saying that 50 to 1,000 books. Self-publishing, reprints, small publishers with niche titles, limited edition prints, regional textbooks updated. So we have a lot of our customers who get jobs from coaching classes, like the chartered accountant coaching classes. From a limited school perspective, they might need 100 books, 200 books kind of thing. Short run has made their life very easy. When it goes below 50, then the challenges are higher. You might need a different perspective to look at it from the kind of production that is needed. So these are more of supplementary print runs. You have already done, let's say in short run, you have done 1,000 books, and then you need only 10 books more or 20 books more. Limited edition prints for artists or collectors. So these are mostly on the high quality coffee table books kind of thing. And specialized content with a small target audience, personalized children's books, but that again is for a segment, not for one child. And then you come to production of one book. This is called as a one book model or a books on demand. As you need one book, it's you order a book, like I showed you the earlier slide on retro books, where you go to the e-commerce site and then order a book, and it's produced for you and sent to you. Or we also looked at the personalization, where a book is created for me or my child, and that requires only one book to be made. And the challenges or the kind of workflow there are very different compared to the other. So these are the kind of multiple opportunities that lie within the three different ones. Let's look at, again, this is easy to read through. In all cases, the inventory risk is minimal. When someone says, and that's where you need to understand your customer requirements, and then come back and ask him that, what exactly do you want to do? Do you want to print 500 books, or you want to do 450 books? You should have the courage to ask those questions, because that's what short run is helping us do, and also extend that value to the whole system. Why create 50 books which may not be used or which may not get sold? In the case of micro run, eliminates the need for any inventory. It's always done against requirement. Turnaround time, faster, quick response to market changes, and faster time to market. Micro run benefits, as each book is changed, or I would also put books on demand in this, as each book has to be produced separately or printed and bound separately. The time taken for that process is more in comparison to the short run solutions. Ideal for testing new titles, that would be short run. It's got a niche market appeal, serves specialized markets with content that may not have a large audience. So these are the kind of, mostly these are all benefits. I'll also go to the some of the issues that might be there. These are the challenges. Per unit costs are higher, but I'll also discuss cost from a different perspective of cost in use, or the cost should not be the cost of paper and printing. What you are saving in the value chain is much higher in comparison to the small price that you pay for it. Again, setup time, frequent job changeovers can lead to longer setup times. Quality control, these are all learning process, part of our learning. So that's why I said when we started off, it's a co-learning kind of thing. What are the kind of challenges that we face? Maybe when we have another webinar, maybe 3 months or 4 months down the line, we could have a lot of questions from you saying that, these are the kind of challenges that we're facing. We could have them online. We will share some links for you to go and put in your questions, and we can answer them. So what happens is, as the ecosystem is growing, some of these challenges will get resolved. Right? We'll have a specific slide on paper format selection, because standardization is something which we need to be very aware of when we are talking about these kind of processes. Sorry. One book model, which is very different per se in terms of, it's still not other than Repro and I think Manipal. Nobody in India, maybe I'm not aware of. I mean, I'm so sorry if I do not have the knowledge. The one book model is where only one book is made at a time. You need to ensure that the book block matches the cover. You need to ensure that the first book is right. You can't have, it's zero wastage that is possible. If you look at it, the viability in India, it's still growing because the cost of or the last mile delivery, there are a lot of challenges in India. Yeah? If you ask the question whether if you print a book in India, will it be having only one reader? It's very rare. I mean, I think that would be more towards those kind of personalized books, and we could always find another reader the next day itself. So based on this, the print providers or the solution providers might be printing 2 or 3 copies instead of one book, and then ensuring that the other books are going into the warehouse or storage, uh, which is based on the kind of demand for such books. So this is still evolving in India. It will get more and more important as this personalized books become the in thing. You know, I mean, I can really see the young kids catching on to the personalization in books. So if you see case study, Pearson Education had a zero inventory model in many countries, and I think they and another publisher had uh, books on demand system in their warehouse. So if any demand came in, they used to produce this and supply. This is very similar to the packaging machinery manufacturer whom I spoke about earlier, where it's a very large company, and for certain machines they will not maintain any parts. Parts are made using a 3D printer and then sent to them. So Pen Wizards, My Adventure Book. These are the Marvel series where a superhero, you know, moves about with your child, and then there is a story built around that. So this is again a one book model. So we are ready for the next poll question. Is the poll done with?
Yes, it is done.
Reducing overall cost is the biggest challenge. Yes, maintaining consistent quality, meeting market demand quickly. I assume that these are from all different types of printing, and the moment you go into short run and books on demand kind of thing, there will be important steps to take in terms of your own inventories. You are helping reduce the inventories in the whole supply chain by not having physical books sit for long in your warehouse or your publisher's warehouse. But you need to do it yourself also. You need to ensure that the paper you use or the chemicals or whatever is used in your process of printing them, you standardize on them. You can't have multiple choices at that kind of. So it's a whole value. That's where the whole thing becomes sustainable. So this is where I was talking about. Definitely short-run printing or digital printing is more expensive in terms of per unit cost. And yes, there are cost optimization happening in terms of savings on plates and things like that. And we have got all those models in terms of where it becomes more profitable or more beneficial when compared to offset printing. But what we need to see is how's the cost of ownership working in the whole value chain. Inventory cost, the cost of holding unsold books in stock. I have seen many of my publishing customers. There will be one small room where they would have the what they call as the book returns, which come back, and then they need to pulp it. So it's like making a product, a lot of efforts that is going into that, and it's coming back. And since it can't float around in the market, you need to send it to, you need to cut it and then send it to paper mills for recycling. So this is the worst thing that can a book publisher can happen. And then since the industry has an understood business model where whatever is not sold comes back to you, this is a big challenge. So you can't predict the market. If you don't have enough books, then you don't sell it. So what short-run printing helps is what short-run printing helps is not having any inventory piled up in your warehouses. If there are shortfalls, if there is something needed, you can quickly turn around. So I know some publishers who sell their books in thousands and tens of thousands, but they also have uh, sorry, they also have a digital print setup where when something is needed quickly, they produce that and send it. And many of them have also tied up with companies like Repro Books, where if nothing is available in their warehouse, the order goes to Repro Book, and then they print and bind that book and then send it to them. So these are models where multiple stakeholders, coexist together and help each other. Inventory costs associated to that is warehousing. That is also avoided. Obsolescence risk. We are talking about national education policy, the new policy based on which the books need to change. So if you had stocks of books from the earlier years, you're going to be stuck with that. I mean, somebody would demand, I need based on the new syllabus. So when it's syllabus change, this mostly happens in the case of education. So that can be avoided. Shipping costs. Moving it from one place to another place, warehouse, and then again moving it to a retail shop, getting it back, lot of returns, all this kind of costs associated with shipping can be avoided. So there's a lot of huge savings in all these kind of things. It's not about so for which I personally, or we personally should ensure that there's a value demanded by the system in whole, because we are saving lot of these costs. Now we come to standardization. I know offset printing, where I've seen many of our customers having huge warehouses with multiple types of paper, different sizes, different bulk, different coated, uncoated, and within that hundreds of variants kind of thing. This cannot happen in digital printing. And I think digital printing is leading standardization and printing globally. I mean, even textbook printers and the long run printers are also learning from this process of, if digital printing could do it, why not? The personalization is related to the content or whatever you're talking about, it's made for a segment or for certain people. That's where the personalization comes in. You don't need a personalization on format, have something which is plus A4, minus A4, and these kind of things. So standardization is very important, which will ensure that you don't need to keep changing the reel when a book is changed from one to another one, and material formats, all these things lead to a reduced cost and also improve the quality. So standardization as well as digital printing is concerned is a must. You can just have a look at these. These are the cost benefits of short-run digital printing. most of us would be knowing about these things. Anybody interested, we can share this slides. Consider these as, just make beginnings made by us in terms of understanding this business from our past experience, as well as looking at it from the perspective of India. There will be a lot of changes happening because it's much easier when you are delivering certain things, fulfillment through the digital way. And something which I would like to take time and say that it's not just the equipment that you should look at it. The business model is very important, and also have a place, virtual place where you could interact with your customers. So best thing I would say is you should go and see the websites of the self-publishing companies as well as the personalization companies. That's something which you should definitely look at. As a printer, you should have something where your customer can ask questions, order things, and you can give them a lot of feedback on what to do in order to do this better and things like that. So that's where the whole process. So before you invest in a huge, a lot of money on an equipment, I would say that you should also look at these kind of software aspects of it, which would finally ensure that you do a business on a consistent way and remain profitable. I'm not reading them again because we have covered in this. Now, I've covered my part of the subject. I would give it to my colleague Suresh, who will handle a couple of slides on bookbinding. In the meanwhile, you can take this forward. Yeah, that's something which I wanted to say. A combination of both is the way things are evolving now. Very interesting because this is what we are talking about. Offset is best for 2,500 plus copies. Ensures uniform quality and long shelf life and things like that. And then when you know when to use the digital print, small to medium print runs, testing and market validation, and a hybrid printing approach where you use both. So I can see most of our participants have said that they use both. So just an example is a mid-sized publisher might launch a new book title with a short-run digital print to gauge the market. After good feedback, in strong initial sales, the publisher can then transition to offset printing for the second edition, where the larger number of books and the lower cost kicks in. And then the same publisher might expand the scope of the book by personalizing. So that could be a one book or a micro model. So that's the unlimited possibilities today there in book printing and book publishing value chain. It's a very exciting time to be. We never expected the books to grow. We never expected books to remain so robust in this kind of digital world. But look at where we are going. So the next couple of slides, my colleague Suresh would run through it. It's mostly to do with do's and don'ts of binding when it comes to digital print.
Thank you, Sajid sir, and a very good evening to all participants. We'll be talking about a little bit on the digital print when most of the challenges are there when it comes to binding. So the initial, we start from the paper. That's the most important aspect. So digital presses run on specially recommended papers. Normally, we see they are either let it be a toner based or an inkjet. They'll be recommended by the presses, where we can see 60 to 80 GSM is a commonly used, which is a preferred substrate. But when it comes to highly coated paper, it becomes challenging. So it is always better to test it before the binding. So most of the presses can have this as a standard format. Whenever they run a reel, probably they can take out a particular print and get it bind, and that they can set it as a benchmark, knowing for this particular paper, this particular DSM, how is the binding going to be. So in that way, you need to have your own format ready, and so that you don't even waste one book while going into the production of that. This is a crucial part, which is the grain direction. As a thumb rule in perfect binding, we always prefer grains parallel to the spine. But in some formats, it is not always possible. What we do is normally it's always preferred to have a better adhesive and a better spine preparation, which can eliminate all those challenges when it comes to cross grain. So that's otherwise it is always better to go for parallel to spine grain direction. As far as ink coverage, it's always better to avoid high ink coverage closer to the spine, which leads in cracking, peeling off, and it may react with the hot melt, so which we call it as a solvent attack. Even though in digital it's all water-based ink or the toner, but still, the inks travel to the fibers and remains there, which may not adhere to the spine well with the adhesive. So it's always better to have a proper margin and not very close to the spine. Perfect binding, as everyone knows, the evolution started off with the EVA-based chemistry, which is clean vinyl acetate. But the latest technology which has come in perfect binding is the polyolefin chemistry, which is, in short, you can also call it as PO. So it is always better to go, which is always pitched in between the best in the segment, which is PUR. But there are a lot of do's and don'ts when it handling of PUR comes. So it is always better than the EVAs. So I can accept whole range of paper, and like I said, even if it is for cross grain, this is the best solution. So it's always better to go for polyolefin grades when it comes to perfect binding of difficult to bind substrates. Moisture control, sheets are normally well controlled for the printing atmosphere. So they are normally kept between 5 to 6%. But when it comes out, you don't have a good control over the substrate, and this leads to honeycomb structure or even blowholes, which will not give you a good binding, and the books may look initially better, but this may fall apart on the later usage. So it is always better to have a controlled atmosphere, or you need to acclimatize and give sufficient time before the next binding process. Conduct binding trials. That is I explained before. So before going into full production, it is always better, or else you have to keep a data where you are able to understand for this particular paper grammage, what is the result, which had come before, and keep that as a benchmark, or else you need to have a trial run or the binding before the full production happens. Monitoring binding quality regularly is one of the key aspects of quality check. So that is, you need to slit the book, check the layer or which is with a dummy or which is already there as a reference book. So that can be as a benchmark for the regular production. Spine preparation, this is the very, very important aspect when it comes to perfect binding. So the spine preparation is very critical, and this is to generate the maximum fibers for the adhesive to adhere. And this is normally you need to have what you call a perfect layer. So your equipment should be able to do that. And the most important aspect is the notching, and which creates more surface area. And the adhesive application can be done so perfect that the pages don't come out, and it can give you a very high page pull value. Next slide. Use of proper equipment. Ensure that the binding equipment is well maintained, calibrated for use with digital printed materials. The wrong settings can cause damage to the print or binding integrity. So this is for the digital, you normally have quick job changing because your runs are not very high, where you set the jobs and then keep producing books. So the machine should be equipped with a faster job changing. For example, if you have 30 different books to be bound in a day with a changeover of at least 10 minutes, you can just imagine it takes up around 5 hours, the whole setup time alone. So quick job changeover is a very important aspect when it comes to selection of equipments. And book thickness measurement device, which is for the quick job changeover, it makes very, very easy for the what you call for the operators to, instead of measuring each segments, you just need to scan a QR code or put the book into a thickness measurement device where the machine picks up the value and sets entirely automatically. So this is something which is unique features in the machines. So when it comes to digital, you need to opt for these features. High-end spine preparation, as explained earlier, key aspect is the to expose the fibers, and this is done through a spine preparation unit on the machine. It is also equipped with a notching device where the notches are made so that the surface is much more higher than the normal length of the paper. And even if you go for long grain direction, so you have the high-end adhesive like polyolefin grade chemistry, where it can solve your problem. So we need a high-end spine preparation. That is very important when it comes to perfect binding. And then precision glue should have control on your coat weight. So going higher on the higher grades, it is very necessary you have a control on the coat weight and very precise head and tail cutoff. This is to avoid the squeeze out, keep the machine neat and clean, and further trimming activities or further processes from there on. Delivery system, it is which ensures smooth delivery without disturbing the spine, because the hot melt still is in the molten stage during the binding process. So you should not disturb the spine. So you need to have a proper delivery system which ensures that the spine is not disturbed and the covers are not damaged. Over to you, Sajid sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. I'm sure we can take questions later on the same subject. I'll just run through the key takeaways from this seminar. We have tried to understand what the market is and what the market trends are. We've tried to define short runs, micro runs in the one book model. We also talked about cost efficiency and flexibility, where the costs are higher, how does the value chain benefit by way of reduction in other associated costs. Then the hybrid model, where I see most of our friends are already into that in terms of having both. I'm not sure if it's used for the same customer or for the same job. We talked about standardization, because then across different methods of printing, you don't need to go back and forth. Quality assurance, you can't take the risk of even losing one book. So you need to be very clear from the aspects of what is the right substrate to be used. You need to do a lot of communication with your print buyer in terms of standardizing things. And so they spoke about using if you're using very different or difficult material, then ask for a trial run investment from the customer, because it's going to be very expensive for you to try these kind of things. Yeah, I mean, I think we have tried to cover a brief overview on different runs. What is the market that is existing in terms of what are the trends? How do we need to address our customer, ask questions, why and how we are going to do this? And let's take this forward. I mean, let's not take this as just one webinar. We are opening a QR code where you could keep sending us questions either on the technical side or on the business. If you do not know the answer, we'll ask some of you only and get the answers, because as an ecosystem, we need to build this faster. And digital or short-term print is going to be, very, very near to the customer in terms of delivery models. So you'll see many multiple centers blooming up in India for any kind of digital print player to be. You can't be expected to take the logistics, take 48 hours for shipping. So these are very exciting period. We will open this up to questions. Before that, I'm just sharing a QR code. You could click on this. I'll keep this on so that as you send the questions, you can still do this. This is a WhatsApp number. You could register, or you could just send us a hi there. We will continue to forward you all our learnings, including this presentation that we have made here. And we will be happy to take your answers even after this webinar is done. So Sriram, over to you. I mean, you can see the questions.
Yes. Yes. Again, this is an amazing initiative that you are opening a WhatsApp forum where all print lovers and people who all have questions on binding can look forward to hearing from you and the experts from your team. Thank you so much, both of you. Yes.
Anything related to short run or digital book printing, I mean, need not be just binding. We could also we are also seeking guidance and consultancy from some experts in this field, both in India and outside India. Their services would be open to all of us in terms of how to do this right. You can rest assured these information will remain with us. We're not here to sell the machines. That anyway you help us buy from us. We are here to grow this opportunity in India as a big movement. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again, great session, both of you. Lots of clarity about how to optimize production processes, reduce cost, and maximize productivity in the on-demand era. I feel clear definitions are a must. Also, each serves distinct market needs, and understanding these differences helps in selecting the right printing strategy is what I feel. One quick question, Sajid, sir, before I start looking at the questions from the audience. The Bindwel mantra at the Drupa show was 7 out of 10 books produced in India have been touched by Bindwel machine services or adhesives. The question for you, we see many deals happening in book printing, be it offset or digital, and a lot of interest in specialized bindery. The new education policy should provide an opportunity for more book printing The targets for 2030 show the textbooks need to fulfill the requirement of 1.5 million schools plus. There's the world of book exports. In a world of 24-hour turnarounds and same-day deliveries, what is the profile of book print firms that are opting for your single clamp machines, and what kind of book applications are we seeing?
So our single clamp, I mean, I think there's a lot of data and questions in that. I'll start from the last. The single clamp binders, we sell it to either digital print shops, which you see, I mean, we have a separate brand to address their requirements called Under Siglock. We sell a lot of single clamp binders to all the small Xerox shops or photocopier shops as they used to be earlier. We also sell a lot of single clamp binders to offset printers who want to insource whatever small binding that they do. And even very large customers have single clamp binders, basically because if you want to do an advanced copy or short runs or very thick books and things like that. So it's a very flexible and versatile machine. So a lot of our customers have single clamp binders. And yes, definitely the scope for growth in book printing in India, in volume wise, it's going to be driven by textbooks. We have a gross enrollment ratio of 2.7 now. So when roughly about 250 million students join the first standard, in the whole school system, whoever joins in the first standard, by the time you go to the 10th standard, only 2.7 is passing out for every 10 students who are joining in the first standard. So that's a pathetic story about how we are now as compared to 8 or 9 in the US and things like that. So the government has a plan to increase that to about 50%, which means at least 5 students remain. That itself is going to double the requirement of textbooks.
Exactly.
We've not seen anything replacing textbooks yet because we have seen all the digital devices fail, where textbooks are the way forward. That's one exciting phase in terms of volumes. The other one in terms of value for all of us in the value chain is what is happening in the short run, whether it's self-publishing or specialized educational publishing and stuff like that. That is what we discussed today.
Awesome. There are a lot of questions for us to answer from the audience today. So I'm going to take the first question from Subhashish Ganguly. He wants to know if you can elaborate on spine preparation. And he says this may be the weakest link in the binding process, which gets least attention.
So I'll take that question. Basically, those Suresh's subject, adhesives or hot melt adhesives, as we know, do not enter the paper. So that whatever bonding is happening in hot melt adhesive is because two substrates are joining together through surface bonding. So whatever adhesive is applied on the surface, let's say on the book spine, is going to hold together all the pages, at the same time also attach a cover to that. Now this bonding is going to increase as the surface area increases. So if you want more surface area, then you need to have fiber coming out of it, felting the fiber from the paper. It's possible in recycled paper and certain type of papers. The more you go towards coated paper, this becomes tough when you try to mill the back. Not much fiber doesn't come out because it's clay coated. And in such cases, we need to notch them. I know most of the book printers and binders here are aware of what is notching is. So there are multiple types of notching, micro notching and V-notching and things like that. And it's also important to ensure that if you have notched or if you have created a area which is increasing the surface, then we also need to remove the paper from there, because otherwise the adhesive will go and hold on to that speck of paper, which will get dislodged at some point of time. So spine preparation is one of the most important things. You should have as much fiber coming out of this. And on a small device, like you talked about our single clamp binder, or let's say in the kind of digital devices, you don't have scope of multiple milling stations and things like what used to be there in the past. So you need to have a very, very smart device, milling device, which has milling, notching, sanding, all that kind of applications put together into one device. So that's why I mean, Subhashish Dada knows all those things. He's just asking it as a question. So I mean, I can see the content management. I mean, we should have him as a speaker on these kind of subjects.
Maybe for another day, sir. There's a question from Muktnath Pandey. He wants to know if you can put more light on PO adhesives.
Suresh, you want to take that?
Yeah, PO adhesive is polyolefin by chemistry. So it is pitched between EVA and PUR. So that's how it is pitched. So you don't the conventionals are like the EVA grades, and PUR you need a much sophisticated equipment to use. But PO based adhesive was simply like EVA. You can heat it up, then you can switch it off. It goes to the plastic stage, and then again you can reheat the next day, as what you do for EVA. But the chemistry itself shows it is of very high page pull. It gives you very high page pull, and you can coat less coat weight is required, like the EVA, where you need higher coat weight. So these are the advantages of PWA.
Yeah.
Suresh sir, thank you for the answer, but I also want to point out that you have a huge fan following among all the bookbinding and tech experts of our industry. So thank you for sharing your knowledge today. There's another question from Saravana Kumar. He wants to know, in your bookbinding machines, what is the average make-ready time or changeover time for short-run jobs and micro-run jobs?
A good question. Like we have multitude of machines starting from something which will take for a job to change over maybe 15 minutes to something like our Freedom 2K series, which is meant for short run, where the changeover from the like A5 to A4 with huge thickness variations, it will be under 1 minute. And then when we also have books on demand machines where every book is a different machine. So based on what you opt for and what is your application, we have machines which change over from anywhere from under 1 minute to going up to 15 minutes.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Parthasarathi Srinivasa Raghavan. He wants to know what is the impact of the short or micro run books on demand generating, reducing employment.
Very good question. I think it's very important to India. I mean, I think thanks to Srinivasan for raising this question. And what we need to look at it as it's as a new opportunity. Any automation, if you look at it, I mean, a country like India, we never sell machines that reduce people. I don't think we have plenty of people. I mean, we can only upgrade people from a level of their know-how to a higher level by making use of these modern tools. When it comes to, let's say, books on demand or the short run or micro books kind of thing, Srinivasan, this is a new opportunity. So it's a new employment opportunity. Look at anybody who's going to set up like your Zomatos of the world. I mean, it's even more jobs than reduce it from the restaurants or things like that. Those restaurants are still surviving and somebody is delivering it to your home. I mean, it's only making you a little bit more fatter than what it was before. But other than that, if you look at it, it's a new opportunity. It's only going to increase the jobs. It's only going to increase the value of the whole supply chain. Today, I'm talking about a gift or making something for my family or something for my something for my father or mother, a specialized book. This opportunity never was there before. So you have a new opportunity, which means there's a new business model. Machines do not operate on themselves. I mean, they need people to run it, and you need good people to manage it. So it's only going to increase the employment. It's not going to reduce.
Thank you for that clarification. But the next question is from Rajneesh Sirsat. He wants to know, when we see post-printing value addition, when we see post-printing value additions in digital printing like spot UV.
I didn't get the full question.
Yeah, that so maybe we'll move on to the next question and come back to this later to Rajneesh.
Rajneesh is one of the leading self-publishing companies in India, and he's also understands book trade like no one else. So I'm sure he could probably retype the question. I did not get the question. If some embellishment, Rajneesh, good to see.
I think there's a question. The idea is to understand how spot UV can be achieved, or as part of digital printing, what sort of value addition like spot UV can be done? Is my understanding of the question. So maybe, like you said, we can wait for him to, reframe it while we move on to the other questions. Sir.
Not mistaken, it's spot UV is already used in digital printing for covers. Lot of these equipment from Duplo kind of companies sell equipment for these kind of applications, whether it's short run or books on demand. Any embellishment, enhances the value or the look of the book, and it also can work as a deterrent to piracy. I'm sure, Rajnish, you would have some more learnings on this. Thank you for asking the question. Yeah.
The next question is from Tushar Dote. He wants to know, do you have your machine capable of handling single book of different sizes and thickness with intelligent censoring device?
Yeah. Tushar, again, thank you for attending. We have multiple models in the short run and the micro run or books on demand. We have machines like Suresh explained, what can measure the thickness of the book and do the complete setting. And when it comes to bookbinding, the thickness is the most important thing. Even if you have all data related to, let's say, the whole metadata related to the book is available, and the thickness is something which keeps playing around, because slight variation in the GSM, and when the book becomes very thick, then whatever you expected the thickness to be, there could be slight variation. So it's always physically measured using a device called the book thickness measurement device. And then for integrity checking with, so then based on that, your clamping, your side gluing, your cover nipping, your delivery, everything gets set in our machines. Like it could be either under 1 minute as far as the short run machine is concerned, and for every book in the case of books on demand. So we have the complete changeover based on thickness and the cover dimensions. And it also does integrity checking whether the book block is book block and the cover matches. Sometimes very difficult things like, it could be the same publisher, same subject. It could be volume 1 and volume 2. The person who is operating the machine may not have, he or she could have missed out, it's going to be a different book. So you should not have the book block going into a different cover kind of thing. So checking the integrity, this is more important in the case of books on demand. So we have the whole bells and whistles, as we call it, associated with that. Yeah.
Thank you. One question from Abe Avadani. He wants to know, for someone who wants to enter the book printing business, what would your 3 mantras be? What is the approach in terms of whether to develop customized solution for PODs and micro runs, or to focus on catering a large market with short runs? Is the question.
That's a very, very tough question to answer. First of all, the first mantra that you should be in love with books. You should like the printing ink and like the smell of it. It's not very easy business to be in. Many of us have existed here because we found some challenges which were entertaining enough for us to endure. So one is understand the market well. The question is, if I understand this, should I go for very very specific, personalized kind of things,
Right,
or should I go for short runs? So the answer is yes and no kind of things. It is based on what your investment plans are, what is going to be your interest, what is the long-term vision in this. All these opportunities are open to you, including starting a printing press for textbook printing, because textbooks are not going to go away. So there are multiple opportunities within the book printing space. But we need to understand it's a very niche industry. But if you look at publishing, I mean, like Dada is there and many of the publishers are here today. It's a very intellectually driven kind of industry. You see all the management there being run by people who are passionate about books. So you need to start from there.
Thank you again. I'm going to combine a few questions on PUR here. The first one is, how much time does it now take for PUR to cure before trimming? Is PUR adhesives environment friendly? And the last part of the question is, do we have any indigenous solutions for PUR application? As the important one is very expensive than your whole machine. So there are 3 parts. The first one is about how much time does it take to cure before trimming?
Suresh, you want to answer that part?
Go ahead, sir. No problem.
You can answer that. I mean, I know more about the new PUR than.
The curing, we call something as a green bond when it comes to PUR. The initial, most of the machines are connected inline, even with the PUR system. So you need at least 2 to 3 minutes where the actual green bond, then you can trim the book. But the 80% curing achieves on the first 4 hours, and the 100% it takes another 2-3 hours more. So this is the latest what is available in India. So these are the curing time as far as curing time is concerned.
And the second part is, are the adhesives for PUR environment friendly?
So if you look at hot melts per se, they are, they are hot melts or PURs with the micro emission PURs. They are environmentally friendly from the application aspects. Now comes to recyclability, it's a big tough question. Can we recycle PUR? Can we recycle hot melts? Because it forms a very small part of your what do you call, the whole book. I mean, it's you're coating. When you look at PUR, it's like 0.4, 0.3 millimeters coating across the whole spine. So to remove that and recycle that, it's a challenge. So if you look at it, recyclability part of it is different. But what we see is within hot melts, we are going to see more of more and more environmental friendly adhesives. Like Uncle, the company we represent, are very, very conscious about sustainability and recyclability. So they're coming up with products, adhesives that as naturally procured, naturally grown kind of raw material, so that most of it is recyclable and things like that. So while as if you ask specifically about PUR, it's very tough. I mean, to recycle PUR is difficult because it gives you the promise that the books live forever. So as long as it is in the books, it's fine.
Fair enough. The last part is about
there are no environmental hazards related to PUR or kind of things.
Got it. The last part was about PUR. Is are there any indigenous solution for PUR application? Since I understand it's more expensive than the whole machine. This is from Vishnu Prasad SK Nair.
Understand. I mean, any indigenous development is dependent on scale. And when we look at let's say for bookbinding machines now, so we are a huge market leader in India. We are there and everywhere in South Asia, then Middle East Asia, and then in Africa also in many countries we are leaders. So we are looking at these kind of markets and then working. But if you look at the developers of PUR, which are application solutions, we are talking about companies like Knots and Robotech and etc. They have scalability, which is at a different kind of level. Yeah, I understand many of these machines are more expensive than our machines, which also tells that we sell machines at a very affordable pricing. It doesn't say that anywhere the technology is anywhere behind that. So PUR equipment is tough unless the numbers are that huge. To invest in that kind of a solution to build PUR systems in India are tough. But we are in discussion with some of these leaders for co-creating something so that we have certain components coming in from them, and the rest we will build it. This we are looking at specifically from the aspect of digital print.
All right, we've run out of time. In fact, we shot by 13 minutes, overshot by 13 minutes. So thank you so much, both of you, and thank you everyone. I think Sajid sir and Suresh were fabulous, and they ensured that they could prod the book printers to ask the right questions to their customers as well. Understand the trends, be it self-publishing, test launches, segmented personalization, customization, and one book personalization. I think the takeaway from the past more than 70 minutes or so, the book opportunities are huge, and the book fraternity needs to bind well much more often. Thank you once again. I'd like to remind you that there is the PPOA's AdopTech in Pune, which is going to happen the day after. And Print Week is the media partner for the conference. Please join us there. We also have the Print Week Awards Jury Week from the 2nd to the 5th of September, hosted in the Autocar Studio in Mumbai. And finally, the Print Week Awards on the 23rd of September, the Westin Mumbai Hotel on the Powai Lake. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you, Nazar, Naveen, Kalpesh, and the team from Print Week who helped set this whole thing up. Have a good evening, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.